Hello my YouTube family, welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Muhammad Farrukh Mohsin. Who are you guys? Hope you all are well. Let's continue the topic vaccine. This is final part. Part 2. Which diseases are vaccine preventable? Smallpox was the first vaccine preventable disease. After Edward Jenner's publication on the use of cowpox to protect against smallpox, the practice of smallpox vaccination became increasingly widespread. But about 100 years would elapse until the development of a second human vaccine, Louis Pasteur's rabies vaccine. The development of new vaccines then grew exponentially, with several new human vaccines being introduced in the first half of the 20th century, but even more becoming available in the latter half and in the early 21st century. An intense period of innovation at the end of the 20th century led to the development of several new methods of producing vaccines, including the expression of proteins in recombinant organisms, the conjugation of polysaccharides to carrier proteins, and the construction of viral-like particles. See Figure 7. The rapid growth in vaccine development is expected to result in more new vaccines becoming available within the next decade. In theory, any infectious disease might be preventable with a vaccine. But a limited understanding of the immune mechanisms involved, and the highly variable nature of the immune response to each specific disease-causing organism, have meant that the development of vaccines has so far been limited to a number of viral and bacterial diseases. For some diseases, such as AIDS, vaccine development is particularly challenging because the HIV virus escapes the body's natural immune response. For parasitic disease, complex life cycles, 1.2 survey of vaccine-preventable diseases are relatively large size, may limit the ability of vaccines to work effectively. Even when immune mechanisms for specific diseases are understood, there is no guarantee that the same vaccine design can be successfully applied to other similar disease agents. For many years, scientists have been unable to develop safe and effective vaccines against diseases like respiratory syncytial virus (RSV), a very common childhood respiratory infection, or dengue fever, a mosquito-borne disease that about 2.5 billion people are at risk of catching. But very safe and effective vaccines have been developed against several diseases over the past 120 years. These are shown in Table 4. Which diseases are routinely prevented in industrialized countries? Over 35 vaccines have been developed, many of which protect against fatal or permanently disabling diseases. Over a dozen diseases are routinely targeted by industrialized countries in pediatric immunization schedules. Additional diseases are targeted in routine adolescent and adult immunization schedules, or in schedules for high-risk groups such as the chronically ill. Diseases commonly targeted by immunization programs in industrialized countries are shown in Table 5. Other vaccines specific to travelers, or to a geographic region, may also be recommended. Some industrialized countries are particularly eager to ensure that life-saving vaccines are introduced quickly in national immunization programs when they become available. Other countries may take several years to consider new vaccine introductions. Figure 8 shows the number of years that elapsed between the granting of vaccine licenses in the US and the granting of licenses in Japan, for some vaccines. Table 6 shows the difference between the number of vaccines licensed in the USA and Japan over the last 40 years. Because of the societal and financial costs of treating and managing vaccine-preventable diseases, the delay in taking up new vaccines may have important social and economic consequences. What impact do vaccines have on diseases? Vaccines have one of the greatest impacts on public health. Their impact on reducing human mortality is second only to the provision of safe drinking water. 5. Vaccines are provided to individuals to protect them from disease, but they play an even greater role in protecting entire populations from exposure to infectious diseases. Vaccine-preventable diseases that were once prevalent in industrialized countries have virtually disappeared where vaccination has been implemented. In the 20th century, vaccines have reduced the morbidity from vaccine-preventable diseases by as much as 89-100%, see Figure 9. The prevention of disease has had an enormous impact on economic development by limiting the costs of curative care and saving billions of dollars in countries where diseases have been well controlled or eliminated. Two factors contribute to the ability of a vaccine to control or eliminate the disease: the effectiveness of the vaccine and the level of vaccination coverage achieved in a given population. These vary slightly from one country to another, but everywhere they are used, licensed vaccines are considered highly effective in preventing disease, see Figure 10 and Figure 11. What is vaccine efficacy? Vaccine efficacy is the reduction in incidence of a disease amongst those who have been vaccinated relative to the incidence in the unvaccinated. Because biologicals are inherently variable, individuals do not respond identically to vaccines. Vaccines may fail to induce immunity in a few individuals, but the most effective vaccines induce a protective immune response in greater than 95% of individuals. If a high level of vaccination coverage is achieved with an effective vaccine, disease transmission can be interrupted. When disease transmission is interrupted, even those individuals who were not vaccinated, or who were vaccinated and did not develop immunity, will be protected from disease. This effect is known as herd immunity, see Figure 12. Smallpox was eradicated by achieving sufficient immunization coverage to prevent transmission of disease to unvaccinated non-immune susceptible. The level of vaccination coverage required to interrupt disease transmission will depend on the ease with which a disease is transmitted and the effectiveness of the vaccine at stimulating immunity. The proportion of immune individuals in a population that will prevent disease from spreading is known as the herd immunity threshold. Each disease has its own herd immunity threshold. The more easily transmitted the disease, the higher the threshold, see Table 7. The higher the threshold, the greater the vaccination coverage and vaccine effectiveness required to interrupt disease transmission. Very easily transmissible diseases, such as measles, can continue to transmit in a community even when vaccination coverage and vaccine effectiveness are very high. Strategies to interrupt highly transmissible diseases, such as measles, may require mass vaccination campaigns or immunization strategies to achieve disease elimination goals. To monitor the impact of immunization programs and to set realistic disease control targets, vaccine policymakers assess how effective vaccines are at preventing diseases in their communities. The commonly used measure of impact is vaccine efficacy or vaccine effectiveness, when measured under real operational conditions. Vaccine efficiency measures the decrease in incidence of a disease in the vaccinated population compared to the incidence of the disease in the unvaccinated population. In epidemiological terms, it is defined as the difference between the attack rate of the disease in the unvaccinated and the vaccinated relative to the attack rate in the unvaccinated. The attack rate is defined as the number of individuals who become infected out of the total number who are exposed to a disease. When categorized into unvaccinated and vaccinated groups, vaccine efficacy is calculated as 12, vaccine efficiency equals x100, attack rate in the unvaccinated, attack rate in the vaccinated, attack rate in the unvaccinated, where vaccine efficacy, V, is expressed as a percentage, see Figure 13. Vaccine effectiveness is often distinguished from vaccine efficacy. Vaccine effectiveness measures the performance of the vaccine under field conditions, usually retrospectively, whereas vaccine efficacy measures the performance of the vaccine under study conditions, usually prospectively. Therefore, vaccine effectiveness will depend not only on the performance of the vaccine, but also on the performance of the vaccine delivery program. Furthermore, whereas vaccine efficacy typically measures the prevention of a disease, vaccine effectiveness can assess the ability of a vaccine to prevent a specific outcome, for example, hospitalization or death from a specific disease. How efficacious are vaccines? Vaccine efficacy varies according to the type of vaccine and the manner in which the vaccine antigen is processed by the immune system. Vaccine efficacy may also vary between different populations. However, in general, the efficacy of licensed vaccines ranges from above 70% to almost 100%. See Figure 14. In other words, vaccines could be expected to reduce the attack rates in the vaccinated population by 70-100% compared to the attack rates in the unvaccinated population. How safe are vaccines? The benefits of vaccination are indisputable. Immunization has had one of the greatest impacts on health, second only to clean drinking water. 14. Vaccines prevent death, illness and/or disability. But because of the immune reactions that they induce, vaccines can cause some discomfort. The vast majority of adverse events associated with vaccines are minor and transient. These are typically pain at the injection site, or mild fever. See Table 8. More serious adverse events occur rarely. Some serious adverse events may be so rare that they occur only once in millions of vaccine doses delivered. 15. And some serious adverse events may occur so rarely that their risk cannot be accurately assessed. 16. Some individuals may be sensitive to some components or trace elements in some vaccines, such as eggs, antibiotics, or gelatin. Otherwise, the cause of rare or very rare adverse events is usually unknown. It is believed that rare and very rare adverse events are associated with individual differences in immune responses. Adverse events following immunization (FI) are often categorized according to their frequency. See Table 9. So, this is the end of topic vaccine, as well as my video too. See you all guys in next video. Till then, take care and be happy. Bye.